The Committee on House Administration will come to order. I note that a quorum is present. Without objection, the chair may declare recess at any time. Also, without objection, the meeting record will remain open for 5 legislative days, so members may submit any materials they wish to be included therein. Thank you, Ranking Member Morelli, members of the committee, and our witnesses for joining us in our field hearing here in Atlanta, Georgia. Today we have Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mike Collins, and Lucy McBath joining us, and they've been waived on the committee to participate in today's hearing. I'm excited to be in Atlanta, Georgia, a state that's implemented common sense voter integrity reforms. 2 years ago, Georgia enacted Bill 202. The left was ruthless in attacking this legislation. The left seems to always attack common sense voter integrity provisions. Joe Biden falsely claimed the bill was, quote, Jim Crow 2.0. He fearmongered that the bill was going to lead to voter suppression. But once again, Joe Biden was flat out wrong. Yet the Democrats' lies seeped into woke corporate boardrooms. Some of our nation's largest companies joined in the false attacks and boycotted Georgia in protest over the bill. 2 years ago, Major League Baseball moved the All-Star Game out of Atlanta on the Democrats' false narrative. This hurt workers who are relying on the game for their income. Fast forward. Not only did the Atlanta Braves go on to win the World Series, but under the new, as a Brewers fan, that kind of hurts my heart. But it is true. It is true. The Atlanta Braves would go on to win the World Series. But under the Georgia election law, Georgia hit a new record with the highest voter turnout in midterm history. I'll now play a 2-minute video. Hear for yourself the left's false claims on election integrity being debunked.
SB 202 reforms to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat.
It proved immediately polarizing.
Well, first of all, I do absolutely agree that it's racist. It is a redux of Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
21st century Jim Crow assault is real.
Organizations like the PGA, the MLB are also under pressure to move high-profile events like the Masters and the All-Star Game out of your state of Georgia. Should boycotts be on the table?
I think we all have to use our voices.
So, Mr. President, what do you think about the possibility that baseball decides to move their All-Star Game out of Atlanta because of this political issue?
I think today's professional athletes are acting incredibly responsibly. I would strongly support them doing that.
Major League Baseball announcing it's moving this season's All-Star Game and MLB draft out of Atlanta, Georgia. The reason is the state's new law on voting.
Major League Baseball for pulling the All-Star Game out of Atlanta, a move one local official says could cost upwards of $100 million in lost revenue.
It obviously had an economic impact. Thousands of average Georgians who were relying on that as an economic opportunity lost out.
Turnout in Georgia now breaking records. More than 250,000 people have voted in person just since Monday.
Over 500,000 votes now cast in the Peach State. It's historic record voter turnout.
And the big argument from the White House was that it would suppress voting. But there was record turnout in the primary, there was record turnout in the general.
And then the empirical data came forward and actually showed that by putting in place strong voter integrity provisions, what we actually got was higher participation. So tomorrow is the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. We're here at Turner Field, former home of the Atlanta Braves and now Georgia State University's Center Park Stadium. I'm proud to share that today we're officially introducing the American Confidence in Elections Act. The ACE Act is our federalist approach to boost voter confidence and encourage more states to implement common sense election integrity reforms. We've held several hearings leading up to today's introduction, focusing on the 3 main pillars of the bill. The ACE Act will provide states with the tools to implement election integrity reforms, implement key election integrity reforms in Washington, D.C. in particular, and protect political speech. I know the left is going to be attacking the bill just like they did in Georgia. But here's the truth about the ACE Act. The ACE Act will uphold the Constitution and ensure states maintain primary control over elections. The ACE Act will support our overseas military voters. The ACE Act will give states access to federal databases like the Social Security death list so they can remove dead people from their active voter rolls. The ACE Act will prevent federal funds from flowing to places that allow non-citizens to vote. The ACE Act will stop foreign adversaries from voting in D.C. elections. The ACE Act will permanently prohibit bureaucrats of the IRS from targeting conservative nonprofit groups. The ACE Act will fight against cancel culture and protect Americans' First Amendment rights. The ACE Act will stop the Biden administration from weaponizing federal agencies, and it will prevent federal dollars from being used for partisan election activities. Most importantly, the ACE Act will restore voter confidence in our elections. When voters are more confident their vote will count, they're more likely to participate. Fighting for election integrity is important, and we're prepared to win. The ACE Act is House Republicans' key election integrity bill, and I look forward to seeing it pass on the House floor later this year. Thank you. I now recognize the ranking member, Mr. Morelli, for 5 minutes for the purposes of making opening remarks.